Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Reggae University right here at Rototom Sunsplash 2024, 29th edition of Rototom Sunsplash. We've got a very special discussion taking place right here. Please put your hands together and give a warm Rototom Sunsplash welcome for our special guest, Harrison Stafford of Groundation, and engineer Jim Fox. Yes, thank you very much for joining us. And
Pleasure.
just to remind our team here, my co-presenters on this session, at the far end of the table you have Pete Lilly and Ellen Collings, the joint editors of Rhythm Magazine in Cologne, Germany, the longest-running publication in Europe devoted to reggae music. And just next to me you have Pierre Tosi, co-author of the book Paperback Reggae, a broadcaster from Bologna, Italy, presenter of the Soul Shakedown Party show on Radio Città Fugica in Bologna and on Hits 92 FM in Jamaica. And you have myself, David Katz, author and journalist based in London, UK.
You're David Katz.
The very one.
You're the David Katz.
Great. Great. Thank you very much for joining us,
Let's
gentlemen.
interview him.
Now, what we've learned over the years right here at the Reggae University at Rototom Sunsplash is that geographical location is very important. It's an important part of the story and how music comes together and how people express aspects of their own culture. So people who know me will know that I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm a North Bay boy. And so, Harrison Stafford, I believe you grew up not that far from where I grew up.
Yeah, I imagine so, yeah.
So I'm hoping you can enlighten the good people here at Rototom Sunsplash a bit about where exactly did you grow up and what was your home environment like? What role did music play in your early upbringing? And how about spiritual faith?
All right, well, I grew up, as you say, in the Bay Area, born in Livermore and spent my childhood in Berkeley and Oakland. So music was always there. My father was a jazz piano player, and my grandfather played saxophone. And as a child, I would talk to because everybody, all the family was on the East Coast. I was the California kid. So I would talk to my grandparents, and they say, the more you can surround your life with music is the better. So I took my grandparents' advice and said, I want to really live music. And my father, when you're a child and you have nightmare and you wake up, you know, my father was there throughout the night listening to John Coltrane and listening to Charlie Parker and Duke Ellington and sit me down and show me the vinyl and the LPs. And, you know, he comes from the 50s and these things. So that was the first experience with music, was jazz. But California is rich with reggae because of this man's father and Bob Marley. They did several tours, especially when they were abandoned on the tour with Sly and the Family Stone. And it was a San Francisco venue that said, hey, you guys come here, stay in the Bay Area for a few weeks. And some of them never left. So from those times, 1972, 73, there was a foundation. Even Roger Steffens tells a story of going to Jamaica to search for these rare vinyls. But in Kingston 12 in San Francisco, from that time, he could find those vinyls there more than in Jamaica. So reggae is a big part of the Bay Area.
Yes, and I have to say it very much chimed with my experience growing up there. There was a rich reggae culture, although there was only a small Jamaican expatriate community in the city of Oakland. Somehow, reggae devotion really took hold there, and a big part of my reggae education happened right there growing up.
Yeah.
Now, Jim Fox, as far as I understand, you began your engineering career outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. Is that correct? And is that where you come from?
Washington, D.C.
So you're always Washington, D.C. based? 100%.
I grew up in New York, but
Okay.
when I was 18, I ended up in Washington and been there ever since.
Okay. And so how and when does reggae become part of your life?
Well, a group, I had a studio in Washington, and a group from Philadelphia, Black Sheep, came down to record, and that was my first time working on reggae. And soon after that, the Sunsplash, 1982 Sunsplash, they needed an engineer that also knew a little bit about reggae and was well versed with how to lock machines, video, and analog decks and all that. So I got the opportunity to record the 1982 Sunsplash in Montego Bay. And Dr. Dredd had a radio show in Washington, D.C., and I took the album of the Black Sheep album, could you please play them on the radio? And at first he said, you know, I only deal with Jamaican music. And later, I was doing sound for Black Sheep at a show that Doc was at. And he goes, oh, maybe I could play one or two of their songs, because it was pretty good stuff. And then after that, Ross Records started bringing in the talent. So that was my beginnings.
Okay, well, so this sort of obviously predates the creation of Groundation and your recording career. But since you'd mentioned the Black Sheep Band, why don't we take a little listen to a bit of track 38 and just see what you can, see what memories you have of this.
Two of them was from Barbados, and three of them from what is it? Tobago. Yeah. No Jamaican, no.
Okay.
But it was reggae, and it was my introduction. And
so, but by that time, you're saying you had already established your own recording studio. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had the studio going for a while already. Yeah.
So had you been working at other studios before that, or?
No, same studio. I started in 1973. We did a lot of news broadcasting and that kind of work. But I was always playing in my band at night, so I was only getting a couple hours of sleep every night until I said, well, I'm going to start doing music in our studio. And
Fox is a drummer, originally a drummer.
Aha, there we go.
Yeah, And yeah, so we started in '73. Black Sheep came to me in 1980.
Right. Okay. Okay. So continuing to trace the rhythms here. So Harrison Stafford. So eventually you end up in Sonoma as part of a jazz program. So maybe you can tell the good people here at Rototom Sunsplash a bit about Sonoma, a place. In some similarities to where we are right here, a big wine-producing region in Northern California. Tell us a bit about your time there, the jazz program, and what came out of that.
Yeah, Sonoma is a beautiful place in Northern California, just above Marin County, and full of great oak trees, as if you have the album Young Tree, that is a painting based off Sonoma County. And like you said, it's wine. It's right near Napa Valley, so it's wine country. And for me, my love of reggae music was when I was a kid. So going to university, I already knew I wanted to be a musician. And your choices are classical or jazz. And I was playing in the jazz group, in jazz band in high school. So I said, I want to do jazz music like my father and grandfather, study that. Not because I wanted to play jazz, but because I knew it would give me all of the tools to be able to create whatever music inspired me. And so out of this program, it was the only university that I applied to because of its jazz program and because of the head, Mel Graves, who was the head of the program, a great professor. He's no longer with us, but he was very strict. And I saw many musicians quit and leave. Like if you've seen the movie Whiplash, he was like that. He would stop the band if somebody wasn't playing the chord changes. Stop, stop. And the soloist is like, oh, gonna get an earful, you know? So you learn quick.
And back then, was your instrument guitar, or what were you learning?
Yeah, it was jazz performance guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then is it correct that actually the first recording experience you had was a band called Human? Is that it?
That is true.
So tell us about Human, what that was all about. What kind of music was it?
It was rock music. It was friends from high school. We started playing when we were like 15, 16 around the Bay Area. So like our parents would drive us to Berkeley Square and these venues, and we'd perform opening show for these other wild groups, and the parents would drive us back to our house and these things, and it was a great experience. What it did for me was, for a singer, a lot of us, takes a while to have that strength, especially if we don't come from Jamaica, because Jamaica have strong backbone. But if you're a singer, typically, you're shy, and to sing in front of people you don't just jump out and do that. So this period of 15, 16 performing, I learned to go take the stage and do it.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the actual forming of Groundation. What was the concept behind it? How did it come together?
The concept was almost at the same period that I was putting together the history of reggae music to teach at Sonoma State. I wanted to do reggae. I love reggae. It's always been it. To me, I started to have all these conversations with people. And if it gets political and social, people take offense. And I realized that through music, you can often say things that don't offend people, and they receive it a different way if they're moving and dancing. So this reggae, this revolutionary spirit that I wanted to be a part of, for me, I said, it can't just be coming, this idea of equal rights and justice, it can't just be coming from, generally speaking, poor people from this nation. People who have opportunity and voices and able to reach other peoples need to be involved in this as well. So I wanted to, coming from California, take part in this music. And so forming the group, there was the bassist who I first met in the university playing jazz. And I said, I'm gonna form a group, a reggae group, Groundation. I already had the songs. And for the musicians, they didn't know reggae. So every week we would meet, and I would write out the chords to all the culture songs and Pablo Moses, Ease of Vibration. I'd give them all the albums and say, next week, we're playing these 10 and these 10. And the first recording of Groundation was really us playing cover songs called Tribute to the Roots.
Right.
And this
correct.
was a way for the musician, like they're studying jazz, to study reggae, you know?
Okay. Now, something you said a minute ago, I'm reminded that there have actually been scientific studies that prove that when we hear music, the lyrics permeate our minds in a way that doesn't happen with the spoken word. So let's take a little listen to a little bit of track 1, and this is one of the original Groundation songs, the early songs, not a cover version, but let's take a little listen and see what you can tell us about it.
This is actually the first original song, and this song was actually recorded for Tribute to the Roots. It was the one original, and we put this on the Young Tree album.
Okay, so yeah, what were you trying to express in this song, and what about the format of the music?
Yeah, I mean, the format is Nyabingi and it's open. I love to hear all the instruments play. The song itself is a militant song about standing for a reason, you know, doing music for a reason. And Groundation chant is kind of even because of the jazz nature of my mind, you have these polyrhythmic aspects. And that's when it goes to the chorus and it says, Rastaman, whoa, and it goes, what the ground? And it goes up, it's 5 bars. So already the first song has kind of an original sound to it. Not by trying to make it that way, but that's just how the song was written.
Okay, thank you. Now, you mentioned Young Tree, which was, well, first of all, you called your label Young Tree, and then you've got an album called Young Tree, and the track Young Tree. So let's take a little listen to a bit of track 3, and then we'll see what you can tell us about that whole concept.
Prophecy fulfilling before we one day a higher society. He's a separation of the poor, I see. All them looking at the poor man crying, saying, thank God it's not me. Cool down from little, yeah. Rip it out at the roots.
Yeah, Young Tree.
Yeah. So, what is Young Tree? What was Young Tree all about?
Yeah, Young Tree is the spirit that we have to care for each other. Young Tree is like a dream of a younger person, that we can all live together. And then this someone saying, yeah, but everybody around the world is looking at the poor people crying, saying, thank God it's not me. We would rather ignore the world and live in our bubble than to really deal with what's around us. So the young tree is something that you can't rip out and you can't change, and it's gonna grow. So to me, it's like a promise of the future.
Thank you.
That was your track.
Now, if I understand correctly, it's right around this time that the two of you, your paths cross. So can you tell the good people here at Rototom Sunsplash a little bit about how, when, and where did that happen, and what came out of that connection?
Well, I've been doing a lot of work with Ross Records. I had worked with.
We could have a whole thing about this man here, because this guy is really the legend of recordings.
But in 1988, Dr. Dredd brought Israel Vibration back together. They didn't want to reform. They all wanted to be solo acts, and Doc said, no, got to have all 3 of you. And so in 1988, Israel Vibration came to my studio in Washington, D.C., and we recorded the first album that I did with them together. And from that point on, I guess it was about the next 10 albums I did with the Roots Radics, with Flabba Holt, and originally with Bingy Bunny. And of course, my hero is Dwight Pinkney, because I saw how he formed the songs as they were being created. And so, you know, that was a lasting connection that we had. And when at some point we started recording down in Jamaica, at the 125 Orange Street at Lego Studios, and a film crew came to film, do interviews, and it was Harrison and Roger. And so that's when we first met.
No, it was Roger Hall. He's the director. It was the beginning of my documentary film, Holding On to Jah.
Yes, yeah, every time. Flop on every one.
Well, I tell you what, we'll just take a little musical moment here. If you give us a touch of track 41, just to remind about the work, Jim, that you were doing with Israel Vibration and Roots Radix, somewhere around those eras. And this is actually your artistry in dub. Yes. Yeah, so go ahead. So you bucked up on each other at Lego Studio right there on Orange Street in the heart of Kingston, downtown Kingston. Yeah, so yeah, what happened from there?
About a year later, maybe? I don't know, 6 months later? When I'm back in Washington, I get a phone call from Harrison, and they just finished their second album, and they needed to be mastered. So luckily, I was able to work on the mastering of that. And then soon after, he calls and says, come out to California, let's start recording. So I flew to California to record Hebron Gate, and got to fulfill my dream of being the witness to incredible art, the creation of incredible art.
Okay, thank you. Well, Harrison,
I mean, that's how it was. For me, it was a little different because I, of course, seen Jim Fox's name on the back of all these records. So when I was at Lego Studio and I see this man working with Is Vibration, say, who is this engineer, you know? Hey, Harrison. Jim Fox. Say, Jim Fox. Man, and I literally said, because I had just finished Young Tree and Each One Teach One, and I wasn't really happy with the sound. So I said, Fox, what's the secret? He said, no secret, just 2-inch analog, 24 tracks. So for Hebron Gate, I got the studio, got the engineer, and did it right.
Okay, well, I think, we got one question.
I have a question for Harrison. It's, we're listening to some very early pieces of music by Groundation, and listening to this is very clear that you had a very peculiar and unique idea of music, like developing something very particular with their own rules of time and musical landscapes and the musicians' interplay, and it's the musical world of Groundation. So how you did develop this through those early times?
It is, I don't know, it's just the music that I love. It's just the music that's inside me. And it happens to have 2 bars of 3 and 1 bar of 4, and it happens to have this polyrhythmic thing. And because of the jazz, harmonically, it steps out of keys center, which reggae doesn't traditionally do. And this is why I formed Young Tree Records. I formed my record label because I knew a record label would come here and say a 7-minute song with a long trombone solo outside of a key with all this they would tell you, you can't do that. So I didn't want them to tell me that. So I'll make my own label and put out the albums myself.
Thank you. Okay, so, why don't we leap right into Hebron's Gate. So give us a little taste of track number 8, a very intriguing song on a very intriguing record, and we'll see what you can tell us about this one.
the works of William Gordon. The fire as Judas come, thinking them can read on the words of Marcus Garvey. And they were filling up our heads with visions, while it's our souls on which they bargain.
So here comes two beats. Two beats.
And for this here price, oh, we shall give our lives to them. Now did you see them riding to the wall? Gone so long they crawl.
Yes. Now, yeah, as Pierre was saying, you've got unusual time signatures going on. You've got all kinds of things on that song, and you also make mention to some of Jamaica's national heroes. So can you tell us a bit about what the song was actually about, and then, why is it structured that way? Just what can you tell us about it? And then I've got some technical questions for Jim, too.
Yeah. The structure just comes from whatever I was inspired while writing, I wasn't thinking, let's add two beats. It was just part of the lyric that made me write the song that way. And yes, Silver Tongue Show is like all of the presidents and prime ministers that like to go up and quote revolutionaries or peacekeepers as if they're on their side. So they come with a silver tongue, like they speak these words that sound nice, but it's really a trick that they're playing on. They're using people like Marcus Garvey, So that's what Silver Tongue Show is about.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you very much. And yeah, Jim, so one thing that really stands out about that song for me and the album generally is this really rich Hammond organ sound, that beautiful Hammond B3 sound. So can you tell us a bit about, is it a difficult instrument to record? Were these sessions difficult to mic everyone up? How did you approach it?
Not difficult. The great thing about Groundation is they have these very complicated songs with all kinds of signature changes, and it's very, very sophisticated stuff. But they play it from beginning to end. So all I basically, after miking them up, I hit the record button and they perform it, and that's pretty much what you hear.
So it's almost like a live recording.
It's like, exactly, and going straight to tape. And the Hammond was typical miking, two mics on the top and one mic on the bottom, so you get the stereo rotary, and then the bottom for the bubble. And but again, incredibly musicians. That was Marcus Urani on organ on that one. Yes.
Yes, indeed. And give us a little taste of track 9 as well, and we'll see what you can tell us about this one from the same Hebron Gate album.
So it starts on the 5 chord. So this is not the key of the song. It only goes to the key when I sing. Here comes the top.
To all those weeping,
that's the key. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
And when you're not paying attention, it just sounds like simple, beautiful reggae music.
I didn't even know it myself.
You don't notice all of that sophisticated stuff, because it just feels solid.
Yeah, that song, it's an open jam until I say to all those weeping. Then it starts that form. And I was driving to go get some Thai food, and I have my recorder with me always, tape recorder in those days, and I sang this thing. Only when I got the food and came home did I realize, oh, the rhythm is not 4/4. It's not a common time all the way through. So that's how I constructed the song.
And in that song, and the song before it, and throughout the album, there's a lot of references to dragons. What can you tell us about the dragon that keeps cropping up
Yeah,
on
the
that album?
dragon that keeps cocking up is what you see in Israel and Gaza right now. This is what I am speaking about, you know? A conflict of belief that it's going to meet head on. Yeah, that's the dragon war.
Again, about the lyrics. The Groundation lyrics are full of biblical references and historical references. So I was wondering if the inspiration is some roots reggae lyrics from Jamaica or something else that is in your cultural background.
I mean, I was raised a Jew in a Jewish home, going to temple and synagogue and reading Hebrew and doing the Torah. But in California, no kids were doing this. So I was like rebelling against my parents. Like, why do I have to? Because it wasn't just one day a week. You have to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. You have to study and learn. And I'd say, nobody speaks this language. I don't see Hebrew anywhere. What am I? But then when I heard reggae, and I heard about the children of Israel and Abraham and these Moses, and it connected for me. So it comes from reggae, but it comes from my own spiritual upbringing and learning, you know?
And changing completely topic, I was witnessing in the year 2000s your show at the Rototom Sunsplash. You came several years in a row in Italy, and you were doing wicked shows like Pieces of Resistance, literally. And in those days, you became huge, especially in Europe. So were you expecting that from the beginning?
I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting anything. I slowly realized what niche reggae music has. Reggae music to me was the greatest thing. But you realize that it's not a big music around the world. And when I knew that Hebron Gate, I was gonna give it my all. Try to get money from everybody, go beg this person, try to get loans from this, fly in the great Jim Fox, record on the analog tape, which we do still to this day. To the last week, we just recorded the new album. So I knew that put all you have in it, Don Carlos, Cedric Mike Congos, make the songs as great as possible, hope for the best. And in those days, the internet was just coming, and so you could find this label and that label, so I sent the album everywhere. And it was a German, a publishing company that said, oh, we're interested in this Hebron Gate. And from there, I don't know how, but Europe, South America, Brazil, love, 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 love. And I have to just give thanks and be honored, because to live your life with music and perform and do these things is like a dream. You like hit the jackpot, you know? Everybody would love to be surrounded with music for most people work a job they don't want to do, but they have to feed their children, you know? I feed my children with music.
Oh, I'm taking over, but I think David too want to do this question, and we talk about several elements. And one important is your experiences in Jamaica, because I think you went in Jamaica very early, and then you had these special guests on the records. So can you tell us about this?
Sure, yeah. My parents, I had already loved reggae, you know, like when you're a Jew, when you turn 13, you have a bar mitzvah and these things. And the theme of my bar mitzvah was Jamaica. And so my parents had met a kid about a couple years older than me from St. Anne's Bay. They met him in Massachusetts. And they said, oh, my son loves reggae. So me and this kid became pen pals. And he said, oh, come visit me with my family. And so in this December, January school break, I begged my parents. And my father said, if we don't let him, he'll probably be upset for the rest of his life. Let's see what experience he gets. And so I went to Jamaica, and from then, summers and winters, and it was great because I wasn't a musician. I was just a kid in St. Anne's Bay. They used to call me Chinese boy. They thought I was Chinese. So I was Chinese boy. And that's fine.
Okay, so
I was 15 when I first reached 15.
okay, so there you go. So as you were saying, the two of you have worked solidly together from those early beginnings, and I mean, there's so many tracks we could play and so on. But in a few moments, we're just going to open things up for question and answer with the audience here. So put your thinking caps on and think about what questions you want to put to our special guests. But I'm interested in some of these spin-off projects that came up along the way. So give us a little taste of track 22, and we'll see what each of you can tell us about this one. Yeah. So tell us a bit about this project, Harrison and Jim.
Yeah, Rockamovia. Rockamovia, named by Horsemouth, the project, Rockamovia. So Groundation originally didn't have horns. And the first time that I brought the horn players in, I figured that to really learn the music for the musicians, Bob Marley and the Wailers is the best musicians to learn from. So every February, we'd put the Groundation material aside, and we would just play Bob Marley's work from all of his career. And over all the years, we probably played every Bob Marley song. So these are the best. And it was a year or two into doing these tributes in February that the drummer said, I want to kind of be home with my daughter. Just get one of those older Jamaicans that you know to play drum. So I said, all right, let me talk to Horsemouth and see if he'd come to California and do it. And Horsemouth loved to do it. He did it for many, many years. He'd fly in, and with the Bob Marley work, I was, at that time, the only guitarist in Groundation, and Bob Marley has all these great lead guitar parts. And in the Bay Area, one of the greatest jazz guitar players is Will Bernard. So let's get Will Bernard. He said, yeah. Horsemouth said yes. And it was just at the sound checks, hearing us jam, say, man, we should go into the studio and record some of these jams, you know? Like even that song was just a bass line sung by Horsemouth, and I improvised the entire song lyrically, you know? And it came out wonderful. And yeah, Fox, the mix is incredible.
Yeah, Jim, what do you remember about?
Huh? Yeah, he sung the bass line to the bass, yeah.
Yeah, Jim Fox, what do you remember about these sessions?
Well, I was able to mix it, and the thing I remember most about it was that we didn't have a name for it. Like a couple of months after we were finished with it, we still didn't have a name for it.
Yes, and I had to drive into Kitson Town, knock on Horsemouth door and say, we need to get a name. I'm not going to leave until we have a name for this project.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. The Rockamovia, I had a dream. Rockamovia.
Okay, so Give us a taste of this last track just before we're going to come to Q&A, so be ready with those questions. Give us a taste of track 36, and then we'll see what you both can tell us about this one.
So they want to burn up Zion, lock us in a foreign country, and now we them a rob
Upon our heads, them man.
Oh, if them need a pot at rain time,
You them utilize, you them criticize, you them scandalize, you them use again, you them handcraft friend.
and if that man should fall,
Upon the oceans they will call.
all that music.
Yeah, Don Carlos, yes.
Don Carlos and Cedric. Yeah. Yeah, at Lego Studios, same way. Yeah, man.
So that was taken from an album that came out last year, and it was titled Dreaming from an Iron Gate. And it was, how would you describe it, Harrison? A reinterpretation
Yeah.
of Hebron Gate with the French act Brain Damage?
Yeah, it's different than a dub album because he had one choice. It was either to do a dub, or the next choice is to put it on a grid so that he can move all the parts around. So that's what he did. He completely took the solo, put it over the intro, and if one note didn't work over the chord, he changed the note, did all of these. It was, man, Martin did a fantastic job. He mastered the thing, man.
Okay. Yeah, okay, excellent. And do we have any questions from this side of the panel over here before we open up to Q&A from the audience?
Yes, I have one little question, which would be, did you ever perform in Jamaica?
I have, not Groundation, but I have performed.
Yeah, and what are the reactions you get?
They love it. They love it, love it. You know, I performed on the Smile, the morning TV show. I did twice over at Rebel Salute, just a couple songs, and the people love it. Whether they even know me from St. Anne's Bay, or I make it a point to show the Jamaican people how much the world loves them, because most Jamaicans are not privileged enough to go travel all around the world and see that you can be in Poland like we were 4 weeks ago, and you go to some place, and it's all Polish white people, but it's like Jamaica in the place. So you see this little island of wonderful people have like sprinkled their energy around Earth. When I say these type of things to the crowd, they get wild. Yeah, they love it to see a little white man up there singing their music and bigging them up, talking about Higginstown and Lime Hall, and they're like, this guy knows the place. Not a new, yeah.
I have a question that goes kind of in the same direction. It's obvious you talked about you've been to Jamaica and you recorded in Jamaica, you worked with Jamaicans, artists and musicians. I've had many discussions in Jamaica about people from outside of Jamaica playing reggae. And for example, I remember when Soulja won the Grammy 2 years ago, there was a big debate going on in Jamaica about cultural appropriation and authenticity in the music and things like that. Have you ever been confronted with this kind of criticism? Or?
Whether they confront me or not, I don't pay it any mind. The cultural appropriation, it depends how you deal with it. If you take someone's rhythm you didn't create and you don't give any respect to them, then it's a problem. If you're creating new music based on what was done before, based on other inspiration in you, and it's something in addition to what they're doing. Music is life. And life, everybody is connected, right? The Romans wouldn't be able to build anything if they didn't take it from the Greek. That's how life is. And if you fight against it, it stops human development because we grow only by outside influences. We don't grow if we're all in our little bubble. The only way we achieve a better world is by adapting and conforming and becoming a part of this thing that we sing about called One Love.
Thank you. Okay, so we've reached that time when it's your opportunity to put your questions to our special guests. So who would like to be the first question to, the first person to put a question to our special guests? No need to be shy. So who's going to come forward with, okay, we got a question over here. Yeah, wait for the microphone, please. Thank you.
No, I want to sit. I have a question for you. אתה עדיין מדבר עברית?
כן.
כן?
You want to speak in Hebrew?
אז שתדע שבארץ ממש אוהבים אותך ואת השירים שלך, והמוזיקה שלך חיה בתוכנו, ואנחנו מתה על המוזיקה שלך.
Can you translate for us, please?
You want to talk about life and music, huh? What was your question? I didn't hear. I heard about life.
רק רציתי שתדע שאנחנו שומעים את השירים שלך בארץ, המון אנשים. We listen to your songs, we love your music, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you a lot. And I asked my question, you said can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so you just had a statement just of thanks, or you had a question?
About the land, life, what your lyrics are.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead, Harrison. Yeah, answer the
Yeah, I
question.
mean, you want to go into all of these spiritual things, huh? If some of the Hebrew words, like I don't conversate in Hebrew, the Hebrew that I know is like the Torah and these things. So some of the words, I know Chaim and I know Haaretz and of course these words. But do you have an actual question about the lyric and about?
So it's...
I understood.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm not sure we understood the question, but anyway, thanks for your contribution.
She was testing my Hebrew knowledge.
Okay, fair enough. So, do we have another question in the house for our special guest? Who wants to put the next question to? Oh, yes, question right here. Yes.
Good afternoon. Sorry.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To Harrison.
Yes,
What do you want the world to remember about Harrison Stafford / Groundation at the end of your journey?
Thank you for that question, ma'am, who I don't know at all. Wow. Just that I gave all my energy and all my spiritual being to put forth new ideas, new creativity, new music. My hope is that at the end of the day, my work will inspire people like me or people wherever they're from to speak out about justice and equality and to realize that in music, we've only just begun. There are many worlds of music left to discover. I hope that Groundation in pushing some of those boundaries will inspire musicians that you don't need to just copy the current sound. We can still be creative as they were in the foundation days. So that is it. Just a little bit of spark that there's still a lot left in this life.
Thank you. Thank you for an intriguing question. And we're facing a battle against the clock. We got to try and get through our questions before the Batucada band reaches us. So now's your chance. So who wants to put the next question to our special guest, Harrison Stafford and Jim Fox? Okay, question right here.
Hi.
Thank you for your music and thank you for this talk. I really loved it. And I didn't know that your background was in jazz music, and now I understand why I love your music, honestly. But I didn't know much about your life, anything about that. So I'm just like wondering, because you told that your family background is about jazz, but at a certain point you also had to say, no, Dad, thank you for about all this Torah and religious culture that you heritage. So did you have to fight with your family, or did they ever push you to go into jazz music instead of reggae music? Or they just welcome that?
They didn't fight me for anything. They were always supportive. My father's background is not a religious background. He doesn't believe that religion is a great thing, but he did say that I love Judaism because no one Jewish is gonna knock on your door to sell you their religion. And also in the Jewish faith, whether you're Jew or Gentile, if you're a good person, you're a good person. There's no heaven if you believe just in this. And he appreciated that. But my father's life was music, his love. My mother, of course, would love for me to be a rabbi and to be religious. So I was somewhere in between. But they didn't fight me for anything. They were very supportive.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a related question, because since your father was a jazz musician, did your father ever express concern or worry about you taking on the role of a musician? Did he encourage you or warn you not to do it?
You know, if I wasn't successful, he probably would be very angry, yeah. But, you know, thankfully it worked out as it did when it did. You know, when I formed Groundation, 21 years old, something like this. So, yeah, no, there was always a great love and support, and he knew already that he comes from a different era, and the music is different, and as long as he also knows how much I love jazz, so he had confidence that what I would do would be great.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think, okay, we got another question over here. Yeah, just right there.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, man.
The question is for Jim Fox. I want to ask you from your work production, from the demos or to the albums. What part of your work has inside the songs? You know what I mean?
You mean Groundation or any?
As a producer, now in Groundation, your work as a producer in the songs, from the demos to the albums. If you can tell me something about that.
Mostly, I let the musicians, the artists, create what they were creating, and I've always done is help them achieve the sound.
Uh-huh.
And there's a certain order in which you do things. You also have to be efficient. So the combination of being efficient and getting the right sound so that everything goes smoothly is more of the producing work that I would do. I rarely would interfere with the arrangement of their songs. Once in a while, you know, there'd be like the songs that be too long on the end, maybe shorten it. Other times, you know, how to make the ending that's long be more exciting and build. I help with that kind of thing. But mostly just the art of a recording is what I bring to the table.
Just the sound or the technician work of the song. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think we've got time for one last question. So who would like to put okay, we got a question at the back over here to close out this session.
So good afternoon, everyone. Devane here from the Yardman podcast. I have a two-part question, actually. One was to piggyback off what the gentleman there asked you about cultural appropriation. Mine is more of what do you do differently from other persons that are seen as essentially culture vultures? And also, where do you see the future of reggae music going?
What I do different is in the music. I mean, I create my original songs. I'm not taking any bass lines or melodic ideas lyrically. I'm trying to sing melodies that I've never heard before. I'm trying to create songs and bass lines and grooves that move me, but I'll never record something that reminds me of something else. So that's different than many groups that play reggae music from California, from US, from Europe, South America, when they sound like that. Groundation to me and what I try to do is something different, which I believe we're all trying to do. But again, it's the music that moves you. It's like telling Bill Evans that you can't play jazz piano. I mean, it's something that I think is wrong. A person can be wrong in how they deal with a culture or a music. But if you're creating something that is generally unique and different, then it's special, you know? It's not that. The topics that I sing about is relating to me.
It's just most musicians, like nowadays music is essentially a big percentage of sampling, so there's no sampling in your music.
There are zero sampling in my music from day one to this day. And every recording is a band with a drummer who counts 1, 2, and we record. No click track, no deep doop 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 deep doop, none of that. No computer, just tape. And everybody gets one shot. If you can do it better, the next time, it's gone. There's no undo. You have to play it right from the beginning to end.
Check, check, check. And when you hear the solos on a Groundation album, the trumpet solos, the trombone solos, those were cut live with the track. There wasn't, figure something out later. It was, all the solos are done with the rhythm section.
Thank you. Now, we're running out of time, but I believe the gentleman, it was a two-part question, and the other part was, where do we see the future of the music? So can each of you answer that question?
The future of the music can go many different directions. We could go down a path of AI, and then I'm done. People can they can just type in a love song in the style of Bob Marley, and everybody in the room will be listening to a different song that's to their liking. But to me, reggae music in general, is a uniquely human thing. And just because recorded music has been around for 100 years, we've been doing it for thousands of years before that. That's why that first song on the album, One Rock, original rhythm, yeah? Who comes up with the original rhythm? The heartbeat. Before we could even do what we do, we had, we were wailing it in the bush before we could even communicate.
Jim Fox, what's your thought about the future of the music?
I kind of go with the flow. What comes along, I pick out.
If the secret of Jim Fox loves to record music. That's it. That's his life. And he's done a wonderful job for 40, 50 years.
Okay, thank you. Now, just to remind, tomorrow at 3:40 p.m., there will be a screening right here of the film Bad Like Brooklyn Dance Hall. Then at 5:30 p.m., we've got our first session of the evening at Reggae University. It's entitled Touchdown, the Broad Spectrum of Contemporary Dancehall. and that's with Stylo G, Manu Digital, and Scaramucci. And then at 6:50 p.m., you've got Twin Cat Style, the story of Isaiah and Dodo Sound. But right now, please, one more time, put your hands together and give a warm applause for Harrison Stafford of Groundation and Jim Fox.
And obviously, for the ones who are forgetting things very easily, Groundation will be on stage tomorrow night.
Thank you.